Sweet Baby Inc. has managed to stay out of the news for a couple of months, but it doesn't look like that's the case anymore, as now we are finding out that David Bedard, a co-founder of SBI, has jumped ship, abandoned their team, and it looks like things are disastrous for this narrative consultation company. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, we have heard a lot about Sweet Baby Inc. over the years and about all of the people behind this company. They don't care about making the video game industry better for everybody. They just care about putting themselves in a position of power. They care about changing it for, in my opinion, in your opinion, I'm sure, the worst. And they just care about sanitizing and making things politically correct and ultimately being able to command companies into doing what they want. And Sweet Baby Inc. has worked with a lot of big companies within this industry. They haven't been getting as many deals lately, and all of the titles that they have worked on were small, and they either went through massive layoffs or their games have shut down since then. But now we are finding out that apparently David Bedard is out at SBI. So this came from Master of the TDS, and well, unfortunately for Kim Belair, it looks like she's the only leader left at this company because this is David Bedard's LinkedIn. And by the way, it actually took me quite a few minutes to find because, as you can see up at the top left, he changed his name because it used to just be David Bedard and then it had some arrows saying GDC, and it was that way for a long time. But now it says David B, he/him, and he changed his profile picture. So it looks like he was hoping to not get as much attention. He was looking for people to not be talking about him and his history. But as you can see, it's all the same way it used to be with like Eidos Montreal being on this list as a market coordinator, Ubisoft senior project manager, Reflector Entertainment brand content manager, and then from March 2019 to March 2025, so 6 years and a month, he had worked at Sweet Baby Inc. He was a co-founder and a director. He did game consulting, marketing strategy, game direction, staffing and team strategy, stakeholder management, processes, production, and his credits include Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, Afterlove EP, Battle Shaper, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Alan Wake 2, Goodbye Volcano High, Sable, and he talks about his skills as communication, financial responsibilities, production planning, resource planning, creativity and innovation, strategic initiatives, and well, he is no longer there as just a few months ago, he was hired as a marketing lead at Gameloft. Now, before we get into Gameloft, this is pretty bad for Sweet Baby because it's one thing to just lose somebody who happened to work there, maybe didn't want to do consulting anymore, maybe they actually, I don't know, wanted to become real and legitimate game developers or storytellers, not that they'd be able to tell a good story, but when you lose a director and a co-founder, that means that there is a massive problem internally, and that means that him and Kim Belair decided that they no longer could work together. Maybe it just boils down to money. Maybe Sweet Baby Inc. isn't really getting these jobs anymore. Again, I haven't heard of any recently that they're working on except for Wolverine, and that game is quite a bit of ways away, but you know, that wasn't really what he was doing. He wasn't doing the actual work itself. It seems that he was overseeing things. But besides that, you know, they're just bringing in small indie titles. Maybe there's just not enough money in it anymore. Maybe gamers are actually fully winning. Though, he has gone on to be a marketing lead at Gameloft. Now, Gameloft, funny enough, is, as you can see on their website, a company that puts the changing of culture and diversity first. This is when you look up their webpage, first thing that pops up, it says, at Gameloft Montreal, we craft high-quality games and foster a culture where creativity thrives. As one of Montreal's largest video game studios, we're shaping the future of interactive entertainment right here in the heart of one of the world's biggest video game capitals. And you have to scroll through their history. You have to scroll through their future before you even get to what they've worked on, which what they have currently is Disney Dreamlight Valley. They also are working on some sort of Dungeons and Dragons game, so bad and bad. I've never played Dreamlight Valley. I haven't heard that it is terrible, but at the same time, it is very clearly a game that is marketed towards casual audiences. And then we know that Dungeons and Dragons has been in a hellish state over the past decade plus because Wizards of the Coast is only hiring activists. So it makes sense why this is the studio they go to. But this is a studio that really just focuses on their diversity and how much they have changed culture and how they're breaking out from the norms of the video game industry. Like they have exceptional benefits of 4.5-day work weeks with Friday afternoons off, a testament to their dedication to the holistic happiness of their employees. And sure, I want employees to be happy and healthy at every video game studio, but they're clearly running around with like rainbow shirts. They're going to probably protests together. I would assume there's not evidence of that, just my opinion. But well, this is the type of company that David Bedard has gone to work at, and it's no shocker to see why. They're promoting the same politics and social structure, and they're aiming towards the same social change that Sweet Baby Inc. did. Now, if you don't remember, David Bedard had went on this big rant about how toxic gamers were months and months ago, really over a year now, actually. And he had attacked us for criticizing Sweet Baby Inc. He said for the past 4 months, at that point, his company, Sweet Baby Inc., had been targeted by a far-right harassment campaign / conspiracy theory. This is a tough situation for me, my co-founder Kim Belair, our entire team, and our collaborators. More than the frustrations caused by the harassment and the precautions we're putting in place as a result of that, the toughness comes from the fact that this entire campaign is based on misinformation. Misinformation so wild and left field, or right field, I guess, that it's impossible to even engage with it or to combat it. As I have said in so many of my Sweet Baby Inc. videos, and I say in so many videos of mine, period, if I ever talk about something and a developer or a director or a studio lead ever feels like I am presenting false information or I am just completely unknowledged on a topic, I have a business email, I have an X, I have a Discord, I have a YouTube. They could reach out, but they never do because they don't want to engage in conversation. If Sweet Baby Inc. truly feels like I have been presenting false information and opinions this entire time, Kim Belair, David Bedard, anybody could have reached out to me and said, I want to have a conversation with you, whether it is on voice, whether it is on video, on a live stream, and email, and they want it written, they want to have a Discord conversation. I would do that, but they never want to talk. And well, 90% of the time I end up getting blocked by these people, so I cannot engage with them. It just is always the same shit, different day. They say they're being harassed, they're saying it's false information, they're saying nobody wants to actually talk to them or engage, but yet they make it impossible to engage with them, and they themselves do not want to actually have to discuss this situation. They don't want to have to defend their position or their company, and they just want to scream from their echo chamber and go, you all are toxic, racist, sexist, bigot, chud losers. And it is insane that they constantly do this, and then they expect people to feel bad for them. He also talks about how he needs to check in on his marginalized colleagues and friends, and you need to make sure they're okay and let them know that they're loved and they're appreciated and they're welcome and they're talented. Tell them you're not going to let this kind of hate push them out of this industry. And as I always say, the best person for the job should get the job. If these people are truly the best people in the industry that should be working on Alan Wake 2s and games like Kill the Justice Leagues, okay, but they're clearly not because they don't know how to tell stories. They don't know what consumers want, and they are actively ignoring consumers and rejecting our feedback. So Yeah, David Bedard is out at Sweet Baby Inc., which to me just screams that they are going through some absolutely massive problems right now. I will be keeping a closer eye on these people's LinkedIn accounts to see if anything else happens, but it looks like Sweet Baby Inc. might be imploding. And as Master of the TDS and Writing Raven say, they've had 5+ team exits that have stacked up, and well, it just looks like things are disastrous for them. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.